This week I read an article called "If You Like Art, Don't Take the Bechdel Test." The article is by Kyle Smith and it's published in the National Review. I've linked it below. If you want to click on it and read it, I'll wait right here. You can go in and then come back and I'll be here ready to talk. For those of you that maybe didn't click through, the article argues that the Bechdel test is not only a creative hindrance for filmmakers, but an example of political correctness run amok that must be stopped. The article goes on to make a lot of adjacent points, which I'll get to in a minute, but first, let's tackle a basic question. What is the Bechdel test? Created by MacArthur Grant-winning cartoonist Alison Bechdel in 1985, the Bechdel test is meant to be a jumping-off point for analyzing the representation of women in film. The rules of the test are simple. A movie passes the Bechdel test if 1. There are 2 named female characters in it, 2. Who speak to each other, 3. About something other than a man. At face value, this seems like a really simple test, but a lot of cinematic classes actually flunk. Casablanca, Citizen Kane, Dr. Strangelove, Forrest Gump, Psycho, The Lion King, the original Star Wars trilogy, and the original Lord of the Rings trilogy all fail the Bechdel test. Critics of the test claim it's reductive, creating a feminist checklist that theoretically exists outside of a film's creative and social merit. Gravity is frequently held up as a movie that fails the Bechdel test but tells a female-focused, even feminist story. Movies can also pass the Bechdel test while simultaneously featuring problematic female characters. Snakes on a Plane, for example, passes the Bechdel test, but only because 2 highly stereotyped female characters complain with each other about not being able to sit in first class. So back to the article, because this is Kyle's main point, that it's a poor measure of whether a movie is about a woman or whether the movie is feminist. I mean, that's a fair point. The test isn't perfect, but then again, it wasn't meant to be. The Bechdel test has always been a starting point, a baseline, a place to begin a more nuanced conversation about the representation of women in film, rather than a vessel for the entire conversation itself. Now that I've cleared that up, I guess I can go shit, Kyle's got that rebuttal all lined up ready to go. Some promoters of the Bechdel test say it's a strategy for drawing attention to the general way women are sidelined in Hollywood, but movies aren't intended to be a proper demographic cross-section of America. Movies are about people on the extremes of society: cops, criminals, superheroes. These extreme characters tend to be men, and men tend to be the ones who create them. Okay, so here we rub up against a key ideological difference between myself and Kyle. One singular movie can't accurately represent every single demographic in America, that's impossible. But film as a creative body can, and probably should. In fact, I'd argue that film would be way more compelling if we told more specific stories about underrepresented social groups. Every filmmaker worth their salt knows that specificity paves the way for unique and exciting takes on universally relatable themes. Think of this year's Oscar Best-winning picture Moonlight, for example. Most of us will never experience what it's like to grow up as a gay man of color in a lower-income Miami neighborhood. But all of us have had to deal with self-acceptance, loss, coming of age, the consequences of toxic masculinity, the list goes on and on. Even if we don't explicitly see ourselves in film, we still relate to these characters, because we recognize these emotional notes, and see echoes of them in our own lives. And if you don't believe me, consider that this is how people who are not white men have been enjoying films featuring white male leads for like 100 years or so. That being said, there is an incalculable power in seeing yourself represented on screen in a tangible, physical way. It's normalizing and validating, especially for young people. When Black girls see Taraji P. Henson working at NASA in Hidden Figures, it sends a very clear message. Black women can and do work at NASA. It's a simple idea, but if you're never exposed to that very basic concept that Black women can work at NASA, it may not occur to you as a possibility or an outcome that you could pursue. When it totally, totally is. Film has been telling white men that they can be anything. Doctors, lawyers, superheroes, Han Solo, for, well, ever. And yes, people who aren't white men can see themselves in the emotionality and the themes of those stories. But it's not the same as seeing someone who looks like you on screen doing something awesome. I'm not saying that we should stop making films fronted by white men. I'm saying there's serious value in telling those kind of stories about everybody. Those of us who can't directly relate to a character in a film can find emotional relatability in the themes. And for those of us who can, well, it can change lives. Kyle goes on to say that women tend to tell stories about relationships, and they don't come up with big sci-fi superhero blockbusters that merit the attention and money of Hollywood. I don't feel like I need to go into this point because it's just like, well, incorrect? Wrong? Sci-fi as a genre is being dominated by women and stories about women right now. The 2 most recent Star Wars films were both fronted by women and they grossed over $3 billion at the global box office. Wonder Woman is the highest grossing DCEU movie ever. A little known indie author called J.K. Rowling wrote a bunch of books that were turned into, billion-dollar movies. There were like 8 of them. Twilight, you guys! Remember when you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Robert Pattinson's dumb smolder? Women did that. There is a tremendous amount of money and interest in telling stories about women. And all those examples I listed were focused on white white women. Do you have any idea how many women and girls would line up around the block to see someone like Kamala Khan kick ass as Miss Marvel? Or what that movie might mean to the young Muslim girls who watch it? Okay, so I went on a bit of a tangent there, but here's the bottom line. Representation in film is important. There's a tremendous power in seeing yourself on screen, and tremendous value in seeing people on screen who maybe don't look exactly like you, but share a lot of emotional values and touchstones with you. Hashtag empathy building moment, everyone. A truly rich and diverse cinematic landscape means that no one in the audience is disproportionately experiencing one of those outcomes over the other. The Bechdel test, while imperfect, is a really great barometer for us to check in and see how we're doing so far. What do you guys think? Is the Bechdel test great, or is it too reductive for film analysis? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please click subscribe and hit the little bell beside subscribe. It means a lot to me that you guys join the Ding Dong Squad. Still working on that one, by the way. And I look forward to hearing from you. I post one of these every single week, and yeah. And now for today's random end card fact. Pteranophobia is the fear of being tickled by feathers. I'll see you guys next time, I guess. Bye!